Hey, hi, I'm Mona. This is Chit. So, it's already like afternoon right now, right? It's already like it's 1:58, so it's gonna be 2. I'm gonna probably need to go and get some ice. But I was thinking about things today, and I was gonna make the video earlier, but um, it started raining and stuff, and not for too long. It was like a quick pass by rain. I knew it was going to rain today. And even when I got up this morning, I was thinking, maybe we should just go today. But then I was thinking, oh, there's still food in there, you know? So if anything, I'll probably just go to the little corner store around here and get some ice. Because it's going to, tomorrow would have been 7 days. And all that ice I packed in those frozen water bottles, I mean, it lasted for a good amount of time. But I still had to get ice. Probably because it's so hot, Anyways. So I decided, after the rain, we went for a swim. And then I thought, let me do this right now. Even though it's really windy out here, but I have things propped up that you can't see so the wind doesn't blow through the speaker so much. Anyways. So I wanted to talk about what I was talking about earlier about the epiphany thing I got. Because I swear to you, when I woke up this morning, the first thing on my mind was, Father, why have you forsaken me? Right? That was like in my head. I was like, what the? And I was like, what is that? And when I was going through something in the past, I would get these weird thoughts and epiphanies. And I'd always figure what is that coming from? And this was when I was homeless over there in Long Beach. And but over there I would wake up with some weird stuff, but then over there I would also get epiphanies at the 24-hour fitness. Every time I got into that shower in Lakewood 24-hour fitness, I would have these strange thoughts, and then I would have to go out to my car and look it up. What does this mean? And lo and behold, it's something in the Bible, right? But, and some of the stuff that I was shown, they contradicted each other. So that's right there for me. Okay, I got to think about this because this is weird, right? I've always kind of thought like that anyways. But I still would look stuff up just out of curiosity. So this morning I woke up with that same feeling and that same thought. Father, why have you forsaken me? And I was thinking, was it because I talked about my dad the other day or yesterday or whenever that was? But no, it wasn't. But I was still thinking about that. And then I went with the dogs for a walk. And I kept thinking about that, what is that? And then I thought about the forgiveness thing again. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. If Jesus was on the cross, suffering, putting through all that hell that he was, all that shit he had to endure, why would he say, Father, why have you forsaken me? Why wouldn't he say something like, I forgive you, Father, for all this. I forgive you for putting me through all this. Or I forgive the people who are... Why wouldn't he say that? Because at that point, it didn't really matter. He was pissed off. He was upset. He was being tortured. He was hurting. So then that got me thinking... Because, the Bible has been twisted up and twisted around and all kinds of stuff. You don't know what's true in there and what's not. That's why I just, when I read something common sense, okay, I'm good with that. But, yeah. And you know what? Jesus wasn't always like, oh, peacefulness. No, he was a fighter. He was fighting for things. He was fighting... because he believed something, but no one believed him, right? And then I was thinking, well, You know, he was trying to teach us that we don't need the church to pray to God. You can do it anywhere. You know? Remember, he used to be baptizing people in the ocean right there. Didn't need to go to a church for all that. No, it would just be, you know, dip your head, okay, you're baptized, you know? Simple. It's easy to talk to God. Simple to talk to God. It shouldn't be difficult. You don't have to go to a church and put in their little money dish to be saved. No, that's not what he was trying to teach. For me, I don't think so. Okay? Now, when it comes to that Immaculate Conception, I don't believe in that, okay? The reason why is because they didn't have DNA tests back then to see who Jesus' real father was, right? Oh, she's the Virgin Mary, though. It was her destiny, this, that, and the other. You know what that is? And I was thinking about that in terms of molestation and manipulating children. Probably from her birth, because she's a descendant of David, right? Probably from her birth, she has been manipulated into believing that this is your destiny, this is what you're going to do, this is what must be, you know. And so she put in her head that that's that, you know. But she was with Joseph, right? And men, they have that innate feeling inside them that they want to procreate, or they want to have sex, if anything, right? I guess women too. I don't know. For me, I don't feel that way. You know, I don't feel like I need to go out there and get sex. Like, I'm not a horny person like that. Except when I was on dope, right? When I had a weird boyfriend back then, and he wasn't a very good boyfriend anyways. But anyways. But children, you know, at these really strict Christian families, they try to teach a kid from the youngest that God this and God Jesus and that, and this is how it is, and the Bible, blah blah blah, Sunday school, whatever you got to do, right? So that's basically ingrained and manipulated into a child, because you can manipulate a child to believe anything, because they're not intelligent enough to know better, right? So of course I'm thinking, man, she was probably manipulated, whatever. And, you know, she says she had some, you know, vision that angel, I can't remember which one, but angel came down and told her, oh, this is what's going to happen. That could have been just like one of them realistic dreams that someone has, because you can just, like, you know, think so much about something, and then all of a sudden you have a dream, and it's strange like that. You can make your body do a lot of things, right? So I don't believe in the Immaculate Conception. I believe that she had sex with Joseph, and Jesus was probably Joseph's son, because she had other children too. And that's just what I believe, you know, because they don't have DNA tests back then, you know what I mean, for us to check. And we don't have any DNA from him to actually check today. So no one will ever know. But that's what I mean about manipulation, and kind of like, you know, what we have a problem like right now, even, you know, with people believing that what this president is saying, oh, he's the one gonna save, he's the truth, he's the way, whatever, he's Christian, when he's really not. He doesn't even care about that. And people are basically just being manipulated left and right, because they don't know any better, because they were brought up a certain way, and they never went to further or enhance their education. You know, a lot of people who go to college and all that stuff, you know, they start thinking different things because they understand things and really realize stuff, you know what I mean? But if you only have like high school education and you've been forced or taught that you have to do it this way and this is this, that's the only up to the only point that you will believe, unless you go out and educate yourself, which people, they don't want to do that. You know, we have a lot of uneducated people in the United States. That's just it, right? Because people don't like school. you know. But then it comes to a certain point when you might become interested, because I didn't like school either, but it came to a point where I wanted to know things, and then I went to school. You know what I mean? Especially, not for religion though, no. But that religion stuff came after I decided to leave California and clean up my act and all that stuff, because my body was starting to clear out all the drugs and whatever, and I was starting to get healthy again and all that, right? My mind came back to normal. But then when that happened, it was like I wanted to learn about religion, like crazy style. Like I wanted to read and figure out things, all different kinds of religions. I was jumping here and jumping there, meeting people, religious people, whatever, right? Whatever I had to do to figure it out. And I've come to realize that, you know, I'm still, you know, I believe the common sense stuff. And, you know, when it comes to Jesus dying on the cross, he didn't die for our sins. He died because religion wanted to exile him, wanted him dead, claiming to be the king of the Jews or whatever. But since they didn't have the authorization to be killing people like that, they went to the Romans to have him killed. Yeah. He didn't die for our sins. He died because he was murdered. He was killed because somebody didn't like what he was saying, and that was the church. Yeah. That's why I don't believe the Bible saying, "Oh, forgive everybody for whatever they do." No. If that was really what he wanted, then he would be telling God, you know, "I forgive you for killing me." No. "I forgive you for making me go through this." No, he didn't say that. He just straight up said, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" Because he believed that the only way would be kindness and love thy neighbor and all that good stuff, right? But I also remember, like, he was fighting against the church about, no, this is not the way it is. Don't be taking money and things like that from people, whatever, right? I'm explaining it in the most elementary way I can, okay? So yeah, that's why I can't believe the Bible, you know. And that's why I believe I've had these epiphanies or thoughts in the past that whenever I was brought to stuff in the Bible, they contradicted each other. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? But I kind of feel like that's what God was trying to show me. Like, yeah, the Bible contradicts. It's not 100%. It's not all true. Because no one will ever know. I don't care who you are. No one will ever know what the truth is. Because it's been interpreted so many crazy ways. Who knows, right? But common sense will always prevail, right? Common sense. And that's what I believe. I believe in things that are common sense. I don't know what my religion is. It's not Christian. That's for damn sure. It's common sense. My religion is common sense. You know what I mean? I do believe Jesus was a real person. I do believe that he was expressing that we don't need to go to church or pay any money to pray to God to find ourselves. No. I believe that, you know, we could do it anywhere. That's probably why every time I go camping, or all the whole time I was camping before, I would get all kinds of epiphanies and thoughts, and then I'll look them up and I'll be like, oh, you know what I mean? In the house, I don't really get that. It's probably because there's a TV there. You know, TV is evil. I like to keep the TV on for noise. Half the time I'm not watching it, but I could be doing something else like reading or being in silence. But that's what I depend on the morning walk and the afternoon walk for. But that's just not enough. Being out here in the nature and being by myself in solitude. I mean, yeah, there's people here, but I'm by myself, you know, and I'm in my own personal thought bubble, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know. So it's that's something that was really, you know, shocking for me to figure out today. Because if you think about stuff logically, even the Bible will tell you, it will back it up, you know. Father, why have you forsaken me? So that's him being upset at God because, you know, he thought everything was going to be fine and dandy, and it wasn't. He was murdered by the church. And then about Mary, his mother, the Virgin Mary, Immaculate Conception. No. Unless she was a hermaphrodite and she impregnated herself with, because all this DNA stuff they're coming up with that you see online, it's all bullshit because it hasn't been backed up. That's why it's not so popular and popularized right now. That's why you don't really see it anywhere, because it's not proven. You know what I mean? If it was proven, it would be like worldwide. It would be, and it's not. So it's, But this is only what I think. I'm not expecting anybody to believe me or listen to me or whatever. But these are my own personal thoughts. I still love God. I still love Jesus. Okay, but I feel like the Bible is just a bunch of lies. And anything that's truth in there could be partial truth. About the forsaken me part and immaculate conception. And all the woo stuff, that miracles, whatever. I believe that miracles can come in a form of realistic stuff. Like, I've seen a lot of miracles, I am a miracle. I've survived, dying, But everything else, all the weird stuff, I don't, I'm not. But that was something that I woke up with this morning, and then I had that epiphany, and I'm thinking about Joseph and Mary, and, being related David, Mary was, I don't know, you guys. The only reason that was pushed into her head is probably because from a child she was manipulated into believing a certain thing, like children nowadays who are manipulated into believing certain ways through the Bible, and they become crazy Christians, you know what I mean? But, thank God for my parents that they never pushed religion in my face. They never forced me to believe anything. If anything, they would be like, you shouldn't do that, God's watching you. Something like that. Something simple like that, But anything else, no. No, they never pushed anything in my face. Because maybe they wanted me to figure it out myself. They gave me the opportunity and the freedom to study religion if I wanted to, when I wanted to, by myself. And that's what I've been doing basically for the past 5 or 6 years now. It's more steady than most of those pastors out there, you know what I mean? Because they don't even know history. Because I've studied the history of religion too, so just don't talk about it a lot because people don't like to hear about that stuff. That's why I just put it on here. If you don't want to hear this, you can just click it off. You don't need to listen to it, But if you do, it's something to think about. It's really something to think about. Because it's all manipulation. It's all to get the masses to believe certain particular things. And to manipulate them into control, to be able to control them. That's what it's all about. That's what people are doing today. They're using the Bible and religion to manipulate others to bend to their will. And that's control. That's, But we have so many people out here who have been manipulated since probably childhood, infancy, whatever, that's the only thing they believe because they weren't, they weren't motivated enough to further their own personal education. Because that's important. Because if you want to study these things on your own, you have to know how to comprehend the stuff. You have to also know that a lot of these things are metaphors on here. It's not, it's something that you have to figure out yourself. But the main thing with Jesus was that you could pray to God in your own privacy. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to pay money, alms, whatever, right? I do believe, though, that the best church you can have is nature. Because kind of like a place like this, data sucks right here, can watch some things, but not really. Like last night I was able to watch a movie. I watched Pretty in Pink. It was working, I can't upload videos. On my other channel I just put out like a daily card post because I did try to do some uploading here, but it kind of sucked out all my data. So now my phones are slow, and it's only the 15th, yeah. But when we go home, I have internet over there, so I'll be able to go back to normal, but then I won't have this anymore, you know what I mean? It's okay. I miss this. I was only going to be out here for 3 nights, and it's going to be 7 nights now. I kind of feel like, I don't want to go, but I was going to go today. I'm not. We're going to go tomorrow. So that will make it 7 days, 7 nights. 7 nights, 8 days, I believe. 6 nights, 7 days, something like that. But I am going to go get some ice because even though things are still cold in there, I want to keep them extra cold. So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people out there thinking I'm crazy or I'm weird, but if you think logically, there you have it. And then, you know, somebody might say, well, what about Mary Magdalene? She said just like I said before, you know, you can have a realistic dream or a thought or epiphany or whatever. It doesn't mean that it really happened. You know, I think, like, if you stay up for so many days, you start to hallucinate. That's why, like, you know, people on meth, because they do that drug and they stay up for so many days, you can hallucinate stuff. Yeah, I did before. It was not fun. It was creepy. But even if you're not on drugs and you force yourself to stay awake, you will start hallucinating of things, you know, and just, I mean, that could have been the case right there, that she couldn't sleep because he died and she was suffering and she couldn't bring herself to rest because all that was going on, being up for so many days. Of course, maybe she's hallucinating, you know. I like Mary Magdalene, don't get me wrong, I love that lady, you know. But I love the stories anyways, right? But yeah, that could have totally happened, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, just something to think about. I have new thoughts on all kinds of stuff. I'm so glad that we came out here because I realized a whole bunch of stuff out here and I feel a lot better. I feel a lot free. Also, like, coming here, like, I've never really went in the water right here. Because every time we used to come right here, it was kind of cold outside. I didn't want to go in the water because we were here in the winter times. But because it was so warm out here, I was like, oh, let's go in the water. And plus I saw a certain spot right there that the water's calm and it's mellow. And so, yeah, every day we've been going in the water. I feel like I've gotten darker, but I really have been wearing a long sleeve shirt to go in the water, putting lotion on my face, you know. My legs seem a little bit redder, but I haven't been putting anything on there. I probably should have, but I've been covering up to get in the water because, yeah, the sun. But yeah, we've been swimming. It's nice out there. You know, it's not crazy. It's not, you know, waves. Even Brian and even Chica in the water with me. You know, it's nice. So yeah, it was a really nice time this time. I kind of like to come out here when it's summery. You know, maybe next year we're gonna do the same thing because, you know, all their shots are due in August. August, no, we're not gonna camp in August unless I think ahead and we leave a couple months early and go to, like, New Mexico or Flagstaff or Arizona. I like Flagstaff, you know. I didn't before, but now I do. It was kind of a good time there. But yeah, or somewhere, you know. Arizona has a lot of cool places to camp and stuff too, in certain spots. But Flagstaff was nice and cool weather, though. That's why I keep mentioning it, because the weather was really nice up there the whole summer. So that's a nice place to go. But if we don't, we're just gonna stay home until August ends, and then after August, I can do it again. Once all this stuff is over that I have to deal with the sheriff and all those people. Such a waste of my time. Such a waste of my time, my energy. It's like these people are stealing my time and energy from me, and that's more important to me than anything, you know. But what can you do, you know? But that's all I have, you guys, okay? We're still out here camping. We're at Indianola Beach in near Port Lavaca. So the date is okay, but that's all it is. It's okay. It's not the greatest. If I want to see something or listen to something, I basically have to come out here to the shelter because it reaches whatever. If I go in the trailer, it doesn't really reach that well. I was really lucky to be able to watch that movie last night, but if anything else, I have to listen to music or something. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. I'm Mona. This was Chit Chat, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.